Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Property Managers and Cars. It's me and my cars, or my truck in this case, driving around to appointments. Today it's a little casual, just picking some kids up from school. Did a couple Zoom calls earlier, but no in-person appointments, hence the hat on backwards. So that's the flexibility of property management. You get a flexible schedule, but sometimes that's a double-edged sword. So today that works out great. It's a gorgeous day out, and I'm going to go spend some time with one of my kiddos. Thought we'd take a moment while I'm driving here to talk about showing properties either occupied or vacant, and what the advantages are for doing both. And what we're talking about here is an occupied property usually is occupied by an outgoing tenant. So you've got a tenant who has given their notice. They're getting ready to move out in 30 or 60 days, and you want the option to start showing that property during that time so that you can take advantage of that time period while you still have rent coming in, to find that next tenant and get them lined up to move in on a future date. It could also be an occupied property, occupied by the owner. If it's a recently new property to your portfolio, you just signed it up, and the property owner still is the phase of transitioning out to their new residence. They also will commonly want to have you show the property while they still live there. That way, they're paying the mortgage on it at that point, but it's providing them a home versus them moving out and providing or paying a mortgage on something that has no cash flow. Now, there are two schools of thought. I have, and I'll tell you mine at the end, but there's another school of thought that says you should wait till it's vacant and that you'll have a better showing experience. It's cleaner, it's more open, all the furnishings are out. Commonly if it is a tenant that's moving out, they're in the process of moving. They've got boxes stacked up everywhere. The place just kind of looks, kind of like a wreck sometimes, and you're having to prepare your prospective renters for that situation of that what they're getting ready to walk into. And I found that's not that difficult to prepare them for. Everyone understands what it's like to move, so they can. It doesn't usually turn them off. They're not purchasing the property; they're just getting a sense for the space, the flow of the property, seeing if they think their stuff is going to fit there. They usually can reasonably overlook, boxes and things being a little upheavaled. But certainly, if it's vacant, it's been nice and clean, it's nice and bright. That can aid to the showing experience. And I've had property managers who are proponents of vacant-only showings. They say that it really doesn't add that much vacancy time because the properties seem to rent a lot quicker because the showing experience is so much more positive. You also avoid the situation of a prospective new renter bumping into an existing renter who may or may not be happy with the property or with you as the manager, or a decision that the landlord made. Sometimes they do badmouth, while we're there showing the property. So that's something to consider on an occupied showing. Now my personal belief in our company policy is when possible, we will do an occupied showing. We have a fiduciary obligation to our owner client to do what's in their best interest. And I understand the reasonings of saying, you're going to rent it faster when it's vacant, and possibly for more money because it looks more attractive. And in the long run, maybe it's vacant for an extra week, but you can possibly get more rent money for it because of the positive showing experience. And that's how property managers who do vacant-only showings justify that. And, you got to make your decision for your company. If that makes you sleep good at night and you feel in your heart that you are honoring that fiduciary obligation to them, then by all means go and do it. I have a hard time reconciling that. We don't have a problem renting properties when they're occupied. They almost always still rent for what we determine the market value is. We don't really do price drops. So I have a hard time believing, at least for me, accepting that a decision to do vacant-only showings would be to the benefit of the owner and not just a benefit to us. Certainly, it's it's easier because we can put a self-showing lockbox on there. I'm going to do another video on self-showing lockboxes, and it's a self-showing process. But we have this technology through Tenant Turner, which is the provider we use for showing coordination, where a tenant can go on our website, schedule a date and time for a showing, and if it's a vacant property, we don't have to attend. They can just get a day code that's good for the one time that they do the showing, and we get the driver's license and all that. But it really is convenient for us. Certainly, we don't have to drive out to the property. I will say there are some advantages to the self showings, in that the tenants or prospective tenants do tend to probably stay at the property a little bit longer because they don't feel like they're being rushed. And it's available 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. So yes, there's advantages to that that could possibly mean it rents quicker, or that it rents to a little bit higher rent value. But I haven't seen enough problems with occupied showings to offset what I see as an absolute harm to your owner, which is it's going to be vacant longer. I mean, if I can show it for 60 days while there's still rent coming in on that property, and have a lease already signed, a deposit already paid, a move-in date scheduled, even before the old tenant moves out, you just can't tell me that you can do it that quickly on a vacant showing when you can't even start the process until the first of the month after the tenant moves out. And there's probably exceptions to that, but by and large, we work on what the averages are going to be to make sure we're doing what's best for our clients, by and large. And I just don't think vacant showings 100% of the time is to their advantage. As I said, it's going to be your business if you're the responsible broker of it. Or if you're not the responsible broker, you chat with your broker about pros and cons of doing a policy of vacant only showings. Now that means that when you have a new owner sign up and they don't move out for a month, you tell them we're not starting for a month. And we can get the property in our management software, and we can start working on the advertisements, but we're not even going to take photos or do any showings until you're completely out, Mr. Owner. Or when a tenant gives their 60-day notice and the owner wants to know why you're not showing their property, you have to constantly justify to them why you are wasting that 60 or 30 days that you could be looking for another tenant. And I don't think it's an easy sell, but I know there's a lot of great management companies here in Denver, ran by owners who I admire, and they run a great operation. They have good reviews, and they have a vacant only showing policy. So take that for what it's worth. Make your own decision on what works for you. Just make sure that you're not violating your fiduciary to your owner, and that you can explain the benefits not only to the owner, but potentially to a real estate commission investigator on how that policy is to the advantage of the owner. As always, comments are down below. I think this topic will probably at some point get a heated debate on it, because I know it's talked about constantly at conferences that I go to. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think about it. My mind is always open to being changed. But as of today, I think occupied showings, for the most part, are the way to go, unless you have some unique circumstance where you're maybe asking a tenant to move out. So there's a bitter taste in their mouth and you don't want to be parading new tenants in front of them. Or if you know that you've had problems with these tenants and they're kind of hostile, you probably don't want to introduce prospective tenants into a very awkward situation. But outside of that, I'm all for occupied showings. Leave a comment down below. Definitely hit that thumbs up button for me if you're watching this on YouTube. That really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. If you're listening to it on an Apple podcast, definitely review us there. But if you could, go to YouTube, find our channel, and watch and like all of our videos. That helps me out, lets me know you guys appreciate what I'm putting out. All right, guys, take care. Guys and girls, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.